Opposites Attract podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, and I am sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez, and we have our special guest, Eric Vogt. Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Eric is one of our training partners at Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes.
He's a business owner, and he's a great friend of ours.
Yes. But before we get started, because these two have lots to talk about, I'm going to be a great listener today, and I'll pop in when I can. But before we get started, you want to do our plugs?
Yeah, so this podcast is brought to you by Trust Inc., and you can go to Trust Inc. at trustinkusa.com. And Trust Inc. is?
We are a nationwide mobile notary agency. We do a lot of work with title companies, law firms, and individuals as well. We are also independent associates with Legal Shield, and I'll allow you to do that commercial.
Legal Shield is a form of legal insurance. So
Yes.
most of the services that you would use, like consultation, letters and phone calls written on your behalf, document review, will preparation, help with traffic tickets, that's all included in the monthly membership. And you can find out more about that at trustinkusa.com.
Very good.
And you can also find our podcast at oppositesattractpod.com. And you can subscribe on Spotify. You can subscribe on any Android phone, iTunes, YouTube. Everything is there. And also, if you want to support the show, you can click on the Support the Show tab at the top, and that'll take you to our Amazon affiliate link. So anything that you buy through Amazon, which I know everybody buys everything through Amazon. They're like taking over the world.
Way too much.
Right?
Yeah.
Not only that, the holidays are right around the corner.
That's a perfect time.
Yeah, for sure.
You click on our Amazon link, and it doesn't cost you any extra, and it helps out the show. So.
Yes. So thank you. Ready to get started?
Heck yeah.
Well, let's get started with, and I don't know if this is something that you were ready to jump into, but
Let's do it.
You know, you had a competition. Both of you had a competition this Saturday, and both of you did very well. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So we got the champ in the house.
Ooh.
We got the gold medal.
Hey, where's the
that was
medal?
tough. I forgot my medal.
Oh, you guys forgot.
And I
the
forgot
medal.
my medal upstairs.
All right.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. That was great.
Yeah.
Because we got to watch. I was watching our teammates and saying, "Hey, you need to do this little detail and this little detail," and then when I get at there, I forget all the details. You know?
Yeah. The one, I know exactly. Yeah, we know exactly what you're talking about. But that's awesome. Like, so your first time competing in no gi,
Yes,
and you win.
Yeah, actually, it was the first time I tried no gi.
Period.
What?
I'd never even practiced.
Never done no gi before.
And even in the gym, I'd never done no gi. So since we had received a complimentary entry, they signed us up for both. They signed us up for gi and no gi. And I said, well, I'm just going to try it. You know, let me go.
Nice.
It doesn't hurt me at all. I mean, I'm going to try to challenge myself. I'm going to say, you know, let's see what I can apply, like the gi techniques in no gi. I don't know, because all I know is what I've watched on YouTube.
Yeah.
When it comes to no gi, that's it. I've never tried it. So
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
How was it different? Like, I mean,
Yeah, it's a lot different in that the gi, you have things to grab onto.
That's the first thing that we go for.
Yeah, you want to get your grips. And so in no gi, you don't have any grips. You can just grab, you know, their body parts. And so
their body parts.
Well,
I might like no gi.
Sonia says, sign me up for no gi. I'm doing it right now.
We practice no gi
Miguel,
all the
let's try
time.
some
You
no
can
gi
grab
later
body
on.
parts.
We were doing no gi last night.
Did he tell you? Because, I mean, when we first went, I was practicing jiu-jitsu with him. And I didn't know, you know, I'm just like trying to rough him up and I oil check him. I didn't know what the hell that was, but somebody
that
said.
was day one.
Hey, that's a good technique. If you can oil check somebody without the ref seeing it, okay, go for it. You know, like
And then if you can wipe your finger across their lip, that's a dirty Sanchez.
But who told you? You're stupid.
No, that was Marissa, coach's
Was it
wife.
Marissa?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She was like, she happened to be like right there watching.
Yeah, great. Yeah, but that was good. I enjoyed that. The no-gi came after the gi. And so I had 2 matches with gi. I lost both my matches, but the guy I lost to was actually the guy that I went against in no-gi, and I beat him.
Nice.
So it was kind of, it was nice that I knew that I kind of knew what he was going to do just because I had been up with him before, but I didn't know what to expect because it was no gi, and I've never done it before. So
yeah, it's different.
it was kind of cool.
Have you ever competed? Was this your first?
I've competed in gi, only in gi. So
Okay.
I think this is maybe my 5th or 6th tournament
Okay.
in gi. But like we were saying before, the gi it's almost like training wheels, right? I mean, you have you're trying to learn the techniques with their body, but there are certain things you can do with the gi itself.
Yeah.
But it is like training wheels. It's teaching you how to like move your body against somebody else's body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is it okay if I take it back? Like when you first, because I know when you and I were talking yesterday, you said that your kids were actually in jiu-jitsu before you.
Yes.
Okay, so take us back to that point. What made you decide to get involved?
So this was back in 2014. We enrolled my son. At the time, he was 4 years old.
Damn.
I know.
Yeah. So
the one that was there yesterday?
No. It was actually earlier than that. This was 2012. We enrolled him. Okay. And so he was 4 years old, just about to turn 5, and we wanted to get him in some sort of martial arts.
Yeah.
So we went to a couple of gyms. One of them was an MMA gym, and we did a trial there, and we had him. We went in and evaluated the school.
Yeah.
And we saw they did some jiu-jitsu, some Muay Thai, some other type of discipline. And then we watched them spar. And the kids were rough, like full speed, going at it, like bloody noses and everything. And I'm like, I don't want my son to do this. That's kind of rough. And so then we said, well, let's look at some other gyms. And there was a jiu-jitsu gym that was not too far from the first one that we went to. And when we walked into there, we knew it immediately. This was a one. They were so welcoming. They were very friendly.
Yeah.
And they kind of understood like what we were going through, because we said, hey, we went to another gym when we saw this. They said, we understand everybody's at a different level. And you don't have to worry about your son just getting thrown into a lion's den and getting beat up. That's not going to happen.
Just being a punching bag for the other
exactly, because that's what I thought. I mean, he's 4 years old.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want him just getting beat up. So we enrolled him in jiu-jitsu. And
how long after before you made a decision to start as well?
Right. So he was going for about a year, and then he said he didn't want to do it anymore. And the coach at the time told us, don't let him quit. He said, you will regret it. He said, don't let him quit. And we let him quit. And so a couple years went by. My younger son wanted to do jiu-jitsu, because at the time he was like 2 years old, and he was always trying to climb on the mats with my older son. And, he wasn't old enough to do it. Well, when he became 5, he said, hey, remember you told me that I can do jiu-jitsu? Yeah. So we brought him back. We brought my younger son there. And then my older son said, I want to do it again. So we enrolled them in jiu-jitsu. And my younger son, believe it or not, I mean, oftentimes we try to tell our kids to do these things because we're trying to teach them a lesson. Do this. Because, my experience is this is how it's going to turn out. So don't make the same mistakes that I made.
Right.
But oftentimes our kids teach us lessons. And this was one of those lessons that my kid taught me. Was they said, one day I said, you're going to go to jiu-jitsu. And they said, we don't want to go today, Dad. And I said, we're going. We have to be disciplined. You're going to go a minimum of 3 times a week. And my younger
sounds exactly like me.
I know. That's why I was like,
minimum of 3 times a week. That's what it is. I don't care what day it is, but we're going to go minimum 3 times a week. And my younger son says, well, how come you don't have to go 3 times a week? And that was at the point I'm like, you're an asshole. You're telling your kids that you have to go 3 times a week, and here you are sitting on your butt watching them 3 times a week and not doing it.
And what you told me was that here I am, I'm watching them, I see them, and I'm, afterwards I'm like, why didn't you do this? You could have did that.
Exactly.
But yet you're not in the ring. You're not on the mats.
Nope.
You're not on the mats. Right. And so it's easier to tell them what they need to do sitting on the sideline, right?
So I could tell you, and we could talk about jiu-jitsu. It's when you look at it, you say, I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure why that person is not doing that there. Why aren't they moving this way, or why aren't they moving that way? You don't know until you're put in that situation, because every force that you're putting on somebody.
Yeah.
They're putting the opposite force exactly just as hard as you are.
Yep.
So there's two opposing forces that make it impossible just for you to move your hips that way. You know?
I don't know if I was talking to my nephew, I think yesterday, and it was the same. It was like when you're watching a boxing fight and you're like, why doesn't he throw the uppercut? Like it's there all day.
Right.
But this guy is the professional boxer and he's there and you're sitting on the couch watching him fight. It's like, you're not there. You don't know all the things that are going through his head at that moment. You know?
Right. And it's the same thing with the kids. I would sit there and watch the kids, and the professor at the time, at the very beginning, when we first put our first son in, he's like, "You need to get your ass on the mat. You need to get on the mat." And I would say, "Nah,
yeah,
can't do that. No, I'm good." So when I decided, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna try it out." He said, "It's about time." This is my first professor in San Diego, and he was very proud of me. He said, I knew you would one day." That's what he told me. I knew you would get on the mats one day. Oh. He said, "Yeah, I didn't know when, but I knew you were going to get on the mats one day." And when I did, I said, "Man, I really messed up. I should have started back in 2012 with my son the first time."
Yeah,
absolutely. I started when I was 47. The first time I got on the mats when I was 47 years old. I'm 50 now. So
hey, you look good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Old man.
You got some good Mexican skin.
Oh my God.
Here we go again. Joe Coy, where are we?
Yeah. Oh man.
Eric is not Mexican.
Some pancetta and lumpia.
Oh yeah, for those of you that watch or have listened to Joe Coy, man, he's got some funny stuff like how it's hard to tell Filipinos and Mexican. Eric is Filipino,
right?
And we all went to a Joe Coy show, and Sonja had seen Eric at the gym. Just she obviously doesn't go as much as I do, so she would go from time to time.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Show my guns.
But so we go to the Joe Coy show, and I'm telling her, I was like, Eric from Jiu-Jitsu is going to be at the show. And she's like, "Oh, okay, cool. Which one is he?" I was like, "The bald guy, blue belt. He's really cool. He helps with the kids class also." And then when we get to the show, like we see you across, the I don't know, the arena or whatever. And I was like, "Oh, there he is right there." She's like, "Oh, the Mexican dude." I was like, "Well, yeah, not really."
Mexican. I answer to everything. I mean, people pronounce my last name wrong and whatever. You call me whatever. It just doesn't matter to me. Yeah, I'm good.
Funny.
And then when we seen Joe Coy that night, he had a joke specifically about that.
That's right. Yeah,
that was funny. No, there was somebody in the crowd.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. So, for someone who's thinking of starting jiu-jitsu, what are some of the challenges and obstacles? Because I know it's like a mental.
That's all it is.
I was going to say fuck. But, it is.
And that's the only challenge.
That's a huge challenge.
The only challenge is a mental challenge. People say, I'm not in a great shape to do it. That doesn't matter. There's people that come in there, like me. I weighed at the time when I started, like 245 maybe. And when I started jiu-jitsu, the pounds just came off. Didn't change my diet at all, just exercising.
Yeah.
And so that's not an excuse because you're not in good physical shape. That's actually the best time to start it when you're in the worst shape that you are. So people say financial reasons. I can't do it for financial reasons. Listen, there's open mats everywhere. And they don't charge you to go train. You can go to open mats. You can train there. You can train at your house. That doesn't cost you much to get, puzzle mats, $15 at Walmart and roll around and, with somebody at your house. You could do that. So it really is all mental. And it's like what I said before. It's, people think of, well, I don't want to do that because, it looks hard. And it's very, very difficult. But once you try it and you see that it is something that you can do. It's not you're not going to go in there and compete with black belts, right?
Yeah.
You're going to go in there and learn just the basics, and that's all you need to really concentrate on. Don't worry about becoming a black belt. Don't worry about doing all these fancy moves, flying R bars or anything like that. You don't need to do that. You just need to worry about getting on the ground, moving, sweating, and learning how to move your hips.
Yeah, just putting in some work.
That's all you need to worry about.
Yeah. How much before you started jiu-jitsu, how much YouTube did you watch about jiu-jitsu? Because I used to joke around before I started. I was like, well, I'm like a 0 stripe white belt in jiu-jitsu, but on YouTube, like I'm a purple belt with a couple stripes.
I'm killing
like I know the twister on YouTube. I know like all these super complicated moves, but like
I think YouTube is good, right? Because you can when you're in the act of doing those moves, it's difficult to kind of picture how your body is moving. So when you look at YouTube, you can say, "Oh, I see what he did with his foot. Like he planted his foot, he pushed with this arm and moved his hips out."
Yeah.
Right? You would be able to see it. But like when you look at somebody that does that doesn't mean that you necessarily are going to be able to move that way. Like for me, being an older guy, I can't move certain ways. You know, my back is not strong, so I have back problems, and so I'm not able to bridge up and move people out of the way. So when I look at YouTube, I say, "Oh, that's great. Let me try that at the gym." Well, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I have to really adapt, and so YouTube is good when just kind of learning like the basic things. I know the basic things I think are really good when you're looking at YouTube. But as you get more experience, you have to look at the more experienced types of moves, and maybe you can add that to your toolbox. But I wouldn't say that somebody like me who's a beginner should be looking at, all these advanced techniques. I still need to really practice on all the basic stuff. That's what my focus should be. So it's easy to go down a rabbit hole. In YouTube.
I've done that. Like, so when you watch a lot of the 10th Planet guys, like the high level guy, like they are so flexible. Yeah. And when you watch, like, you're like, oh, I get stuck in that position all the time. And all he does is he grabs his foot and puts it behind his own head. Right. And then I'm like, I should try that. And then I get stuck like with my foot barely past my knee, But
yeah. So are you going to, you have to know your limitations.
Yeah.
And don't get caught up in everybody else and what they're doing. I say YouTube is good, but that's not where I'd focus. I'd focus more on the time that you're putting in on the gym, on the mats, and knowing your body and working on you rather than looking at somebody else. I think like I said, there is a place for YouTube, but you could easily get caught up in it, and there's a certain point where it doesn't do you any good.
Yeah, like if you find something that's kind of like your style, then you can like easily apply, then cool. But there are some things that are just like, oh yeah, that looks cool, and then you try it out, and you're like, yeah, that's not me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There was one thing that I was thinking, like you were saying, like getting out on the mats. And yesterday, I mean, this was my first competition. So one thing that I kind of figured out, like you kind of learn your game.
Yeah.
Like what you're good at. Like, cause you think I'm going to do this, but it doesn't work out that way.
Right.
But you kind of figure out, like, at least for me yesterday, I noticed that some people like pulling people into their guard, or they want to shoot for a takedown, and that's not me. Mm-hmm. So I know that I want to either pull somebody down, like snap them down, or I want them to try to pull me into their guard so that I can pass.
Right.
And when you have having somebody coaching you, like, because in the video I can hear you in this, in the video I can hear you in the video in the stands, but when I'm on the mat I couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes when you have somebody that you practice with, because we train quite a bit for this tournament together, and you knew some of the things that I was good at, or that I was gonna try to do. And having somebody that you train with, I don't know what you think, but having them on the side is almost like having coach. Coach has, like you were saying before, this giant toolbox.
Right.
And if he's like, grab this, sweep this, and I'm like, I don't even remember that move.
Yeah, exactly.
But you knowing, like, okay, Miguel knows 3 moves.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Just do that one.
Just do that.
Because if I would have heard you from the side, like push the face.
Yes.
When I was stuck in side control, like put your hand on the hip and push the face up, I would have been like that, and then I would have went for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? What do you think?
Well, like I was telling before, what we know is very little. And what I liken it to is a black belt in jiu-jitsu has all these tools in his toolbox, just like, Miguel's a mechanic. He has this big toolbox with all these specialty tools, this tool that he may use like 4 times a year, right? Because there's a special situation that he needs to get into, use this special tool. He'll pull it out of his toolbox, get up there, tighten that bolt or whatever.
Easy.
It's easy, super easy. And he puts it back in his toolbox. A new person who maybe didn't acquire all the tools is probably trying to use a hammer or a wrench to try to, a crescent wrench to try to turn this bolt.
Slipping.
And he keeps slipping. And he can't get it done, right? It's the same thing in jiu-jitsu. And people acquire tools over time. And the tools are the knowledge when it comes to that particular situation, or when that person's putting that type of pressure on you, or pulling this piece of your body. To pull that tool out of your head and use that move. That's the difference between a white belt and a black belt. The black belt has a big toolbox and can pull out all these specialty tools.
Analogy.
Yeah.
And a white belt beginning blue belt like me has a little toolbox that they're carrying around by the handle. That's it. And I have a hammer, I have a screwdriver, I have a crescent wrench, and I have a pair of pliers. That's it.
Dude, I love that analogy.
I know, that was so good. That's so good.
Because we had just mentioned that right before we started the podcast, and I love that analogy. Like the crescent wrench, and it also makes me think of like for those of you that know tools, like channel lock pliers.
Right.
Channel lock pliers is a pair of pliers, and you can adjust them. So it's like, as a white belt, I have an adjustable wrench and a pair of channel lock pliers.
That's it.
And I'm trying to make these things work on everything.
That's right. Yeah, and so when when after you put in the time, you gain more knowledge, you gain more tools in your toolbox. When you're on the mat and you get into that situation, it's like, it's easy, like pulling that specialty tool out. Now I know I just need to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I can be successful when it comes to that sweep or getting out of that position.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just gaining the tools. And what people don't understand is that it takes so long to gain that knowledge. Like it may seem very easy. Yeah, you can go and watch YouTube and I can learn all these moves. But until you get an opponent in front of you pushing and maybe has the same knowledge that you have and the same amount of tools, or maybe even more tools than you have, and they're putting that exact same force on you, you will never know how difficult it is.
Yeah.
Because that's really where the challenge is. And that's where you realize, I don't know shit.
Yeah.
After the tournament yesterday, I realized I still don't know shit.
Yeah. And the competition is different, because it literally on Thursday, the last thing that we did before we left was practicing. Like, Eric was helping me with that side control escape, and that's what I needed in the competition, and I forgot. I just completely forgot.
And in that situation, you just don't know. I mean, it's intense.
Yeah.
It's super intense. And so when you're not in a stressful situation, you're able to pull these things up more quickly. Like, it's available to you a little easier.
Yeah.
But in stressful situations like that, we're going back to our fight or flight. We're just, for me, I was just worried about getting this big guy off of me. Like, he is putting
you had some big dudes.
This pressure on me. He's smothering me. Right? He is literally smothering me.
You say you were 212?
I weighed in at 212 yesterday.
The other guy was
over 300, yeah.
How in the world is that fair?
Well,
Wait, what?
So, like I said, I started late. And so when you start late in jiu-jitsu, most people my age don't say, hey, I'm just going to pick up jiu-jitsu today. They're younger when they start. So when you start get to my age and in my weight bracket, there's not very many people there. And so what I had to do is I had to drop down to the next age, so a lower age category, and there was still nobody in my weight category, so I had to go up a weight. Well, I'm so close to that upper weight, which is already 220 and above. There's no limit. You could be 400 pounds if you wanted to be in that category. So I had to go down in age and up to the unlimited weight.
Wow.
So this guy was in the unlimited weight, and so that's who I had to fight. So.
It sounds to me like in jiu-jitsu, if you have a huge ego and tons of pride, you're not going to do well, because it seems like it's a very humbling experience.
It is. And that's how you learn. Like, like, I'm not good at this. That's what I need to practice on. If you think you're good at everything, you're not going to say, oh, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm great at that. The problem is that you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught with somebody that actually does know more than you and doesn't just think that, but actually does. And he's going to wipe the mat with you. That's every single time that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to be a little humble. And Miguel can tell you the cool thing about the people in jiu-jitsu, and especially, our teammates, is that we're all really humble. It's like, we know we're not great. We know that our limitations. We know what we need to work on. We know we're not going to be able to pull that specialty tool out every single time because we've never even seen it. We don't even know what that tool is. So we all help each other. We know that we have these limitations and say, when it comes to like Miguel, I know he has problems getting out from side control. So
hey man, don't tell people my secrets.
So we're going to work on that. That's. But that's good though. And you need knowing what your limitations is good in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. One thing that I like also is like if you know something, or if you have something that works for you, at least for me, and I think for everybody at our gym, like we share it with other people,
right?
And it's funny because like I have that half guard pass where I like to like clamp my hands under the butt and sprawl out and then try and get around. And I've showed that to a bunch of people, and then I find myself on the bottom of half guard, and then they're using it on me, and I'm like, what the hell? I showed you this move, But it's it's cool. It's part of helping out the team.
Yeah, I mean, if you make your teammates stronger, it's going to make you stronger, right? They're going to learn more, and it's going to push you to learn more to be able to counteract.
Yeah, which in turn forces me to have to learn how to sweep them from half guard or do something else.
Yeah, and so even the upper belts know, hey, we want to pass this knowledge on.
Yeah,
that's why if you ask one of the upper belts, hey, show me this, they will be right there to show you that because they want to pass that knowledge on to you.
There has never been a time where I ask, somebody that like it's happened so many times, but recently, Dennis. With the lapels. Like, he is just relentless with the lapels. Like, he will grab it and wrap it around your head and then just...
Yeah, sit you down.
Choke you down. So, but, like, we're going. I'm like, dude, every time that we roll, the first thing you're doing is grabbing here, grabbing here.
That's right.
Here, and little by little, it's getting higher and higher.
Yep.
And I'm like, what do I do? And he's like, come here. He's like, I'll show you. And he was showing me how to keep him from getting the lapels.
Right.
But the next time we rolled, I got choked. But it wasn't from the lapel.
Right.
He ended up having to get me down on my back to choke me from the top.
Yeah.
And he was like, I had a harder time getting your lapels this time. And he showed me how to defend what he's good at.
Yeah. And that's a sign of a good training partner. It's like point out those weaknesses and show you how to counteract somebody that's stronger or is able to do something more. So like Steven at our gym, he can choke anybody out. I mean, that guy knows how to choke. And so he'll show you, here's how I do the choke, but here's how you block it. This is how you need to move. Here's where you need to put your hand to block me from getting this grip. Like, he wants you to know that.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're trying to, hide all these secrets. We want, like I said before, if your teammates know more, they have that more of that knowledge, the better you are going to be. That's the goal is to make all of us better.
What is that saying that all ships rise with the tide?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've learned all of this in Legal Shield.
Yeah.
Like, it's just worded different. That's it.
Right.
It's like, you have one hand up and the other hand down.
Yeah.
To lift your teammates.
Yeah, except
up, so.
the difference is it's actually
have one
somebody
around your throat.
really is trying to choke you. They're trying to make you unconscious. That's
There's no analogies. They're trying to choke you.
They are trying to choke you for real.
For real.
So you have a business.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, I mean, I have a full-time job.
Okay.
I'm a safety manager for a construction company, but my wife and I have a small business on the side. She actually, I don't really know how many part of it. She handles most of it, so it's really her business.
Very similar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we have a business in which we provide first aid services to injured workers for companies. So you could send your injured worker to a clinic or to an emergency room. Our services is that we're mobile and we actually go to the site and take care of the injured worker and with first aid right at their doorstep.
So where is that?
It's in Hawaii.
So it's all in Hawaii.
All in Hawaii. Yeah.
Okay.
How How did that happen?
Yeah, I know. So we were doing some work in California, and we had an opportunity to go over to Hawaii. So we started up the business there. So I mean, it's nice. It affords my wife to be able to work from home.
Yeah.
So there's a very flexible schedule, and so she's able to take the kids to school and pick them up from school, and that's what our goal was, is always to have her be a stay-at-home mom. And when we had this opportunity, we said it fits in with that, and it doesn't take away from her giving her attention to the kids, and so we're going to do it. So we weren't going to do anything that required her to go to work and not be able to, pay that attention to the children.
Nice.
And so it worked out really well.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. So it is in Hawaii. I mean, that's unfortunate. People say, well, hey, isn't that great? Your business in Hawaii. Well, that's fine. But when you go to Hawaii, you're not really going over there for vacation. You're going over there to work,
Right.
So
That's different.
yeah, it's completely different.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I've never been to Hawaii. I want to go to Hawaii.
We got to go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is nice. It is nice over there.
Yeah. So has there's one thing that I've heard so many times. I don't know if you listen to Jocko Willink.
Yeah, I haven't, but I've heard from a lot of people who have.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
You got to check him out.
Yeah.
Like, he is he's a Navy SEAL, Jiu-Jitsu black belt. But whenever I listen to his podcast, and a lot of people, they talk about how Jiu-Jitsu relates to life.
Right.
In so many different ways. And when you first start, you're like, well, I just got choked out today, so I'm not really sure exactly how that relates to life.
Well,
but
life
you get choked out in life all the time.
Can choke you out.
Yeah.
It can.
So
And you need to tap sometimes.
have you had any can you think of any experiences that you've had where you're like, you know what, this is kind of similar?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was times where my wife and I have been together for almost 30 years now.
Wow, we should have had her on here too.
So next year we'll be married 27 years. And
Very
so I
cool.
can remember at the beginning when we first moved out together and before we were married, we didn't have any money. We didn't have any money. When we got paid, we had like $5 left over to last us to 2 weeks. $5,
Wow.
period. And I recall very specifically, our treat is we would go out to this burger place. They would have 2 burgers and 2 fries for $5, and that's what we spent our $5 on. Was that burger and fries? So I look back at those times and say, those times really sucked. They really did. Those were hard times. And there's been times where I've been on the bottom and somebody's putting their pressure on me saying, this sucks. It really sucks. But looking back, those times when we didn't have any money made us stronger. That's what made you stronger. That's what made you more resilient. And the same thing in jiu-jitsu. The more pressure you have on you, the more it sucks, the better it is for you. The stronger person you will be. So keep putting that pressure on me.
Yeah.
Keep challenging me, because I'm going to embrace that. I'm going to embrace the suck, as some people say.
Yeah.
Because I know that's going to make me stronger.
Yeah.
So it may suck right now, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with things sucking.
Yeah.
I know I can get through it. Just like I know I can get through with some, like 300-pound guy. I can get through that. I'm okay. I will be okay.
Yeah.
So it's a good lesson, for us to, when we talk about challenges, the jiu-jitsu is a big, big challenge. It really is. But it just puts things in perspective. It's going to be a challenge, but you're going to be okay. You're going to survive.
But what keeps you going, during that time when you were going through that situation with your wife? Because so many people tend just to give up and throw in the towel. What made you continue to push through and to move forward?
At the time, I think it was just a matter of survival. We just wanted to get through it. We didn't know when we were so young, we just didn't know where we wanted to be or where we wanted to go. We just know we just had to get through this.
Yeah.
And so you don't have the experience to know that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's a season.
Right. I mean, so at the time you're saying, we don't know where this is going to lead. Now we know. We have that experience, and we can tell people, hey, it's good. Don't worry about it. It's sucking, but that's okay. It'll be all right.
If you went back down to the bottom, it would suck. And we don't
Now
wish
I
that
know.
on anybody, but you know that you've been there before and you can come out of it.
Listen, I'm we're very grateful, and we feel very blessed in where we are right now in our lives. But I can tell you that if all of it went away and we just had my wife and my two boys, and we were living in a trailer somewhere, it would still be okay. We would still be perfectly fine. It's the situation that we're in right now.
Yeah. And
like I said, we're very grateful, but at the same time, we're not afraid. Like, I'm not afraid as I was when I was younger. Like, I was always afraid of that things weren't going to turn out the way I wanted them to turn out. And life changes things, right? I mean, we don't know where we're going to be. I can tell you that when I was very young, I wanted to be a photographer. That's all I wanted to do. Yeah. And then I wanted to go into the military. And then I wanted to become a firefighter. And then I wanted to do this. And I did. I became a firefighter, right? I became a photographer. And now I'm doing something completely different. So you never know where you're going to be.
Yeah.
Isn't that
and it's going to be okay. It's going to
Yeah.
be perfectly fine. Whatever it is that you're going to do, you're going to be fine. So, and jiu-jitsu the same way. Whatever you do, if you mess up, that's okay. If somebody taps you out, that's okay. If somebody chokes you, that's okay. Because there's going to be times where you are going to be successful and you're going to be choking somebody out and you're going to be on top. And you're going to be the one that's going to be putting pressure on somebody else.
Yeah. Do you know one thing that I think has to be translated better? Or it could be, I don't know, I guess put out more. Like in jiu-jitsu, I don't know, for some people. Like for me, when I went in, I didn't expect to... I didn't go in like, yeah, I'm going to tap the blue belts. I'm a white belt, brand new. Like, yeah, I can take these guys. I didn't have that expectation. Like I think I had seen our kids doing jiu-jitsu because it was similar.
Right.
Like Audrey had been doing jiu-jitsu for I think like a year and a half at another gym, and then Joey had started for maybe like 6 months, and I hadn't started at all yet. And then we went to the new gym, to Carlos's gym, and when I started, I didn't have any expectations. I was like, I'm brand new. I don't know anything. I know I don't know anything, so I'm just going to learn whatever I can. But in life, I think when people try stuff out, they expect to succeed at everything.
Yeah.
And
it's
if
not
you
like
could
that.
have that, the other mentality that comes from jiu-jitsu, it's like, I know today I'm probably going to get choked. I'm going to get armbarred. I'm going to get kimura. I'm going to, like all this. There's no way that I'm going to do well today.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's part of
and it's
learning
and
winning.
You can apply that to your job. You know that you're not going to go into your job and do it perfectly every single time. Like we're humans, we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to make the best decisions when it comes to things, right? And so there are always going to be those times where at your job you're going to say, "Damn, that didn't progress me. That actually I regressed because of what I did." Right? So it's just, you have to think about that. Yes, that's going to happen, but in the end, you're making these incremental steps. Yeah. If you take a step back and look at the big picture, look at all the small steps. Same thing in jiu-jitsu. All these small steps that you've done have led to where you are now, and it makes you a better jiu-jitsu player. Same thing. It'll make you a better employee or business owner or whatever it is that you're doing. It's going to make you, all these little small things are minor
challenges
setbacks,
in life.
Challenges, but they're, in the long run, they're going to make you better.
Yes.
Yep. And it takes a long time, too. I mean, with jiu-jitsu, to get your black belt, I mean, it takes a long time. Right? It's not something that you can get in just a couple of years. Yeah. So you're not going to be successul. Just say, I'm going to give it 3 months, and I better be at the top.
Yeah. Purple belt, 3 months.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. I want to be, I want to be a CEO of a company in 6 months. That's just not going to happen. You have to put in the work. You have to
fail.
You have to fail. Yeah. You have to learn, and you have
fail
to grow.
Again.
Yeah.
Learn. Fail again.
Right. Yeah.
Learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
The story of our lives.
Yeah.
Mine too. Everybody. All of us.
I think that's just something that, like a mind shift. It's just hard to do sometimes, because anytime you start something new, like even this podcast or a new business, you go in with the expectation that you're going to do, like, it's just going to take off like a rocket and you're going to be super successful. It's like, it doesn't work out that way.
Right.
I mean, even with this podcast, but you have to know you're going to fail, you learn and apply it and keep moving.
But how do you know if you will be successful if you don't try?
Exactly.
Right? And so that's one thing I'm so proud of you guys for doing this podcast and being consistent and dedicated to it, because there's not a lot of people that would do that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of people would put the time and effort to do it every single week. And it's the same thing with pretty much anything in life. You're dedicated to it. You do it on a consistent basis. You say, this is my goal. I'm not going to deviate from that. Doesn't matter what else is going on. I'm going to do this.
This has to get done.
It has to get done, right?
Yeah.
If you don't put in that effort, you will never know if it's going to be successful or not. I mean, you always guess, but you just won't know.
Yeah.
So you have to put in that legwork.
That's
And
why
if it does, let's say it doesn't work, that's okay too, right? I mean, because you know that you did everything that you could to try to make it successful. But as we're going along, you're learning too. You're learning in gaining all this knowledge to be able to apply to something else in the future that may just blow up.
Ding,
you know?
ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
That's one of the things, because we met in Legal Shield. I was in Legal Shield for 12 years, you know, and people see we opened Trust Inc. and all of a sudden, boom, it's like, oh, how is it that you just started this business and it's having success? No, you're seeing the results of the late nights, the early mornings, the time that I sacrificed from my family to go build these relationships.
Yep.
You know,
it's like archery. Have you ever done archery?
I haven't.
Okay, so anybody who goes out there and says, I can put that arrow in the center of that bullseye, that's easy. I mean, anybody can do that, right? But go try it. See how easy it is. It takes hours, months, years of training to get good at that. Just like jiu-jitsu. You're not going to be able to put it in the same spot every single time. You're not going to be able to do that. You have to practice. You have to fail. You have to do all of that stuff in order to be successful.
That archery, I've heard, you have to be almost like it's almost like a state of meditation.
Right.
Like your focus cannot be on anything and even when you release the arrow, it's like your mind is with the arrow. It's yeah, and it's the small little details that make a big difference. And just like in life, you know, those little details make big differences. You know, how you release, when you release that arrow, that release changes things on just the little small little details like that. Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu, same thing. Like there's a little detail when it comes to how you grip the gi. If you miss that little detail, it all falls apart. The whole move does not work unless you get this one little detail.
Yep.
And so we have to remember these small little details, because you only get that with trying things and experience and failing. Repetition. You'll learn those little details.
Yeah.
So when we train, it's funny. Coach will show us these moves, and he'd say, "Okay, you got that? Okay, 1, 2, 3, clap. Let's go." Right? And we get over and we're like,
what was that?
Did you get that?
I don't even know what that was. I have no idea, right? So let's try this. And we get over and we try it, and he'll come by.
To grab this leg?
Yeah, right. He'll try that, and coach will come over and go, no, you're doing this all wrong. So it's like, well, at the time, I think I'm doing it right, but it's not going to work. It just won't work that way. And so sometimes we go through life that way, thinking too, hey, I know this, and it doesn't work. It's not going to work that way. You know, probably have some guy standing over you going, that's not how I showed you how to do that.
Who taught you that shit? Oh, that's funny.
Yes.
So with your kids in jiu-jitsu, how long, you said they started in 2012?
Yeah, 2012, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And have you seen any changes with them?
With
jiu-jitsu?
My kids, they're not, let's just say they're not that athletic. Okay. So for them, the coordination piece of it takes a lot longer for them. So they don't really grasp things as quickly as some other kids do. But since they've been consistent, I've seen the improvement. And that's the thing, is when people tell you, hey, what's the key to success when it comes to jiu-jitsu? And it's just showing up. That's the key, is just to show up. It doesn't matter the tournaments, it doesn't matter, what these fancy moves that you're learning, or knowing those fancy moves. That's not it. It's just showing up consistently, and that's how you grow when it comes to jiu-jitsu. And so I've seen in my kids the growth. I've seen it. Maybe not as fast as other kids, but I can see it.
Yeah.
Since you've started in jiu-jitsu, Do you see a difference with them and like the relationship? Because now you're doing it. Now you're leading by example.
Yeah, I wish my kids enjoyed it as much as I do. I don't think they do.
Yeah, me too.
But it's the same thing like told me before is we're going 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I don't care if you want to or not. We're going because I can tell you, I don't want to go 3 times a week. I mean, I like jujitsu, but at the time I'm get home from work, I've been up early working all day, stressful situations, and I get home and I just want to relax.
Yeah.
Right. And I have to say, no, you're not going to. You're going to get your ass up there and you're going to put your gi on and you're going to go to jujitsu. And I struggle. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go. I force myself to go. And then after, it's great.
Yes.
And I asked my kids, same thing. How was jujitsu? It was awesome. It was great.
Yeah.
But you didn't want to go. Before you were fighting me the entire time not to go. And then afterwards, you think it's great.
That is insane because I know exactly what you're talking about. That's happened so many times where it's the same exact situation. And then that's the day, like even when you show up, you're just like, fuck, I should have just fucking stayed home.
Right.
But now I'm here.
I'm here.
And now I can't leave.
Yep.
So let's go. And then you start moving around a little bit and the training goes amazing.
Right.
And then you start rolling and you pull something off that you haven't done before.
Right.
And you're like, fuck, man, if I didn't show up today, I wouldn't have got that move that I've been trying. Mm-hmm. And then maybe you get a stripe or something happens and you're like, I'm glad I came.
Right.
Or the other thing that happens with me is like running. Yeah. There'll be something like, fuck, man, I got to put on my shoes and I'm going to go outside. And I step outside and I'm like, fuck. And I get going. And I end up running faster at a faster pace than I've ever ran before. And I'm like, I feel awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just sometimes that's when you have your best training sessions is when you don't feel like doing it and you do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell you that there's not one training session or competition that I've ever regretted going to. Not one.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed every single one of them. Now I've been injured. I got injured when I was a white belt, like maybe 6 months after I started. Injured my knee, had to have surgery on my knee. And even then, I don't regret it. I'm still glad that I was able to go there and experience that because I know I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to let the guy do that to me again to where I hurt my knee, So, I think that if you just show up, make sure that you're just showing up on a consistent basis. That's the key to success. And the black belts will tell you the same thing. And
then like as far as life, like school. Like, I tell you right now I'm going to school. Yeah. And I'm like, this fucking sucks. Every day when I get home, this fucking sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
But once I get that certificate, then it's going to be like, you know what? That's going to land me a new job. Right. And this is pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, it seems like it sucks. And the same thing before. At the time, before we're going to the gym, it seems like it sucks. But one of the reasons why I help out with the kids class is because that motivates me to go there in the first place, right? Because now I'm already there. Now I have no excuse not to go because I'm already there in my gi helping the kids out. I can't just take my gi off and walk away. Well, why are you leaving? I just don't feel like it today. No, that's not a good enough excuse, right? So I put myself in the situation to force myself to go.
Yeah.
See, and that's the difference. Because earlier I was talking to him about, I don't know what we were talking about, the book that I'm reading.
The New Earth.
The New Earth. And they were talking about, how we tend to betray ourselves a lot. Like doing the thing that we really don't want to do. But they're talking about like something that, like you force yourself to go to jujitsu, but at the end, you feel great about it. You feel good about it. That just has to do with lack of just laziness. We get so tired and we just want to chill at times, but he's still happy at the end that he went. The situation where I was telling you, I didn't really want to go, but I wanted, I'm like, well, maybe I should help out this person. But I knew that if I were to make myself go, it's not something that I would have been happy about even after. Like I would have had to force myself to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the end result.
Right.
Like you don't feel like going to jiu-jitsu. You don't feel like going to a run. You don't feel like going to school.
Right.
But in the end result, you know it's going to be better for you.
Yeah.
Where what you're talking about, there really was no difference at the end.
No.
You know?
Yeah. For me, I feel good. And I think about that feeling after training, and I go, you want that feeling.
Yeah.
Get your
You
ass
got to
up and
remember
go.
that feeling
Yes.
when you don't want to put your gi on.
That's right.
Yeah.
You have to remember that feeling, because you're after training, you're like, I got my ass kicked. That was great.
That's so weird.
I want that feeling. I want to get my ass kicked more.
Yeah.
Like, I want that.
I remember
Yeah.
putting a post on Facebook. It's like, I never thought I would be thanking people for kicking the shit out of me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, thanks, buddy.
Yeah,
It was like,
yeah.
you really fucking kicked the crap out of me
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's, people say, yeah, it's rough. I mean, I got kneed and I had to go to work with a black eye one time, and I'm sitting in this big meeting, and they stopped the meeting and go, okay, before we get started here, what's the story with your black eye? Right? I mean, so, but you know, I think that's all good stuff. For me, it's like, I enjoy that. I want to get my ass kicked, because the more I get my ass kicked, the more I'm going to know not to do that again.
Yeah.
I know I'm not going to do that because I'm going to get my ass kicked. Right? So don't do that.
Yeah.
Or do something else to prevent you from getting your ass kicked, you know? So
Yeah.
that's why I like it. I really enjoy, like,
The lessons. You enjoy the lessons.
Yeah, it's like, you know, for our teammates. So here's one thing that when I started was, you know, we rank ourselves by belts. So we have different belts. And I always thought that if somebody was like an upper belt, a blue belt, I have to go 10 times harder to try to kick that blue belt's ass. Like, I have to. Like, that's my goal. And really, that's not really what it's about. I mean, if you think about, you know, where you are when it comes to those tools, that's all it really is. It's those tools. As a white belt, you don't have all those tools in there. So focus just on like the basic stuff. And I know that people will still try to do more just because of your belt color. They'll say, you know, I got to do better than that guy, better than the purple belt. But at the same time, you have to think about, what do you know and what do they know?
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't compare yourself to them. Just because you submitted them doesn't make you a better player.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They still have more tools than you. That purple belt still has way more tools than you. Focus on building your toolbox. Like, that's not your achievement, is by submitting an upper belt. That's not the achievement.
Yeah. And the other thing, like, it reminds me of something when they say, like, styles make fights.
Yeah.
And even if you're a lower belt, like, you may have a little piece of a specialty tool that works on one guy.
Right.
And that one guy, it may be a blue belt and it
That's
maybe
right.
works. And okay, cool. But then you may get a white belt with one stripe that has a little specialty thing
That's
that works
right.
on you.
That's right.
And he freaking smashes it, because it happens
Yeah.
all the time. Like, there's guys that have less stripes than me, and they fucking give me hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
That's why I think that we often look at the upper belts and we say, you know, we'll give them respect because they're an upper belt. But the same thing applies the other way.
Yes.
Like, I respect all the white belts. You know, like, there's none of them that I don't have respect for. It's like, hey, you're showing up every week. Miguel's showing up there every single week. He's trying to learn. I can't have anything but the utmost respect for Miguel. It doesn't matter his belt color. He's dedicated and he wants to learn, and he's not afraid to get smashed, and he's not afraid to get submitted. So that, to me, is bigger than submitting, you know, a brown belt or a black belt. That's way bigger. That to me commands more respect.
He's been submitting for quite some time before jiu-jitsu.
Thanks a lot.
We all do.
I had to throw something in there.
So when it comes to the kids, why did you get them into it? What made you look into it? Was there a
I just
reason?
wanted them to have some sort of discipline outside of the house.
Okay.
That's all it was. I wanted them to see, other than, you know, all their experiences is in our discipline, and our discipline was, you know, taking their electronics away. We never have hit our kids, but I can tell you what, we don't need to, because the first time you mentioned, I'm taking that electronic away from you,
No more Roblox.
Oh my goodness, the whole world comes to a standstill, right? So they'll do whatever you say after that.
We
right?
hit them with the
That's
electronics.
That's right. We
Joey.
hit them with the electronics. So, yeah. So they never experienced anything other than that. And I wanted them to see, here's another person. This is how they discipline. I want you to understand you have to respect other people too, and you have to respect the sport itself and people and how. And I want you to face challenges. Like that's what we wanted. We wanted them to get into something that would push them, challenge them, you know, make it suck for them. That's what we wanted.
Yeah.
Well, Miguel has a specialty for Adriana and how he disciplines her, because you can take, she does
discipline.
not, she's
Choke
not
her.
attached.
No.
She's all passed out.
I hope CPS doesn't see this video.
She's not attached to material things at all. She's just not. Right. So,
Yeah,
Miguel,
the other day, I don't know what lately she's kind of been off in another world. So we just kind of did some jiu-jitsu workouts, some high knees and sprawls, high knees and sprawls.
She probably doesn't like it at all, right?
More sprawls, push-ups, high knees, sprawls, and then until she just was like, I was like, remember this. All right.
And
we had just got back from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And I was like, go get your pants back on and get upstairs so we can But
and so they did. I mean, it's good. I mean, the gym that we came from in San Diego was a little different. They had other disciplines besides jiu-jitsu. So my son liked the striking and kicking.
Yeah.
But it was pretty much the same. You know, the family atmosphere. You know, people really care about you and your growth and this journey of jiu-jitsu. You know, they really understand that piece of it. And you know what. The other motivator to go into jiu-jitsu is my jiu-jitsu family. You know, I know Miguel is going to ask me, where the hell were you? Why your ass wasn't here? You know, why didn't you show up? So it's like, okay, I don't want to get shit from Miguel, so I got to go.
Right. Accountability. Having accountability.
I don't know if it was you, if I hit you up once. I don't know if it was you or somebody else. Like I every once in a while, like there's, it is family. It's like, hey man, you doing okay?
Yeah.
You know, like,
right. So
a little bit.
Yeah, so that gym was the same way, and so that's why we really kind of stuck with it, because once you get into that environment and you feel like, hey, people do care about you, and your teammates care about you. You know, they want you to succeed. You're gonna be more motivated to go. And the reality of it is that there's a huge turnover dropout rate in jiu-jitsu. We see people come all the time. I mean, maybe you've been doing it for
about almost a year. Next month.
Yeah, almost a year now. In that year's time, you've probably seen
a bunch of
dozens of people come and go, right?
Yep.
And I've seen the same thing. And it's especially when you get, you know, your next promotions into the belts, it drops off even more.
Yep.
So just because you get promoted to, you know, a blue belt doesn't mean that you're going to lose that motivation to go.
Yeah,
you have to keep that up.
Have you ever done any network marketing at all? No. So a big part of network marketing, some people have like a bad taste about network marketing or whatever. But a big part of it is these presentations that you have to go to, like a weekly, and it's exactly the same thing. Like when you start out and you look at all the faces of all the people and you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then one person drops off, right? And another person drops off. And it's funny. Kind of like, I don't know if it's the same as jiu-jitsu, but people might be like, yeah, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if that stuff works or this or that. But a year goes by and half of that room has new people in it.
Right.
And then 5 years goes by and only a quarter of the room is still there. But then you look, the people that are having success are the ones that have been there the entire time. Like they've seen everybody come and go. And those are the... people that stuck with it.
It's jiu-jitsu is not easy, right? It looks easy if you're on YouTube.
You just
have to do that right there. It's not easy at all, and it takes a long time. And people get discouraged with that. They want the instant gratification. I want to be there 3 months and I want to get promoted to blue belt. You know, I've been there a year. I want to get promoted to purple belt. It doesn't work that way. You cannot gain that knowledge. There's so much to know. You can't gain the knowledge in such a short period of time, and people want that instant gratification, and you're not going to get it.
But you have to put
in the work.
That instant gratification doesn't last, because if you get it just like that, it's like, oh, cool, and then it's gone.
Then what?
But when you've been working for it, and you try to grab this arm and grab this leg, and you can't get it, and like a sweep, like you're trying to grab the arm and grab the leg, and they pull it out. Grab the arm, grab the leg, and pull it out. And you've tried it 50 times, and it never works. Until finally you grab the arm and you use your legs to pull them in so that you can grab the leg, and then you sweep them. And the satisfaction that you get from that, because you've tried it so many times, is completely different than if you just would have knocked it out the first time.
Yeah, and it's like, that little detail. You changed one little detail, and you will never learn that little detail unless you failed the 50 times before that.
Yeah.
Right? So
you guys are making me want to go back.
I'm telling you.
Hurt my hip.
My back hurts every single day.
See, but you're a guy, like
every single day.
So look, Miguel's 6 years younger than me. Okay, I have to keep my hips good. You know what I'm saying? If I go in there,
childbearing hips, I gotta keep them good.
But you know what's so crazy? Like, I go to the gym and I've been hitting it super hard, lifting, love it. But when I started going to jiu-jitsu, like my sciatica, he knows, walking, it kicked
it's a different kind of
hard, and it was just, I'm like, man, this sucks.
Yeah,
then I go to the gym, I rope.
Yeah,
and it's a different kind of hurt.
It is. Yeah, I mean, it's the meme is that it's the art of
the gentle art
of folding clothes with somebody in them, right? Is that what it is? Is that what they say, right? Folding clothes with somebody in them. It does. It does put a lot of stress on your body, but I would say that not as much stress as other martial arts that are out there. I mean, if you take a look at striking and kicking and stuff. I mean, it really is gentle compared to some of that stuff, but still very, very physical.
So when it came to your kids, why jiu-jitsu or MMA as opposed to taekwondo? Was that a thought?
Yes, and not saying bad about any other martial art out there, because I don't know. I've never done any other one other than jiu-jitsu. I've done a little bit of Krav Maga, but that was just kind of practicing with it, not really diving deep into it. But I thought that jiu-jitsu was the one that was more challenging and more applicable to what would happen, let's say, if they were had to defend themselves in real life.
Yes.
Okay.
So, some of the things that I read were that most fights end up on the ground. Like, you're not standing up, punching and kicking somebody. They're going to grab you. They're going to take you to the ground. If you don't know how to fight on the ground, you will lose every single time. If somebody has just a little bit more knowledge than you do when it comes to fighting on the ground, will beat you every single time. You can't get out of that situation. So that's why I wanted to learn that. I wanted them to be able to defend themselves. I thought it was more challenging. When I looked at it, I said, why does it take so long to get your belts? Why is it so hard? And that was another reason why I said, well, if it's that hard, it must be pretty challenging.
Yeah.
So my brother-in-law, he's a brown belt. And
in jiu-jitsu?
In jiu-jitsu. And his wife is also a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Damn. So they had been trying to get us to do it for a long time before that too. So we always had it kind of in the back of our mind that maybe we want to do it. They wanted us to start a long time ago. And, a combination of all those things is what kind of led us to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad, I don't know if you've heard on one of our previous podcasts, I've talked about it, but my dad was second place in the world in Taekwondo.
Yeah.
And when he started watching, actually, when I was a little kid, it just wasn't, he would teach me in the house, and it wasn't fun for me. All my friends are going to this cool school down the street, and they all got their uniforms, with school patches, and I got it's not even from Amazon. He had to get it from China or something. I don't know. And I'm training in the living room, and he's making me run around the block. They got, their little studio that they run around. But the difference was my dad, he understood martial arts. So it wasn't like he did different. He did Taekwondo. He did a few other things. He did kickboxing. Like, he did the effective striking martial arts. And even though he was a black belt in Taekwondo, there was a lot of stuff that he didn't teach me because he was like, you don't need to know that. That's not going to work. And when he finally took me to the school, he was like, he talked to the instructor, told him what he had done. And he's like, you mind if he sits in the class? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then I could tell the difference. Like, my kicks were a lot stronger. Like, the technique was solid. I forgot all that stuff now. But when he started watching the UFC and started seeing jiu-jitsu, he's never done it before, but he was like, that stuff's pretty cool. He's like, there's something about that jiu-jitsu, and what he told me that he really liked was that for him, competing and having all this experience, in order for him to end the fight, he's got to knock somebody out.
Right.
You got to hit them really hard, knock them out, hurt them. He's like, we're in jiu-jitsu. If you get your hands on them, it's trouble. Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear from a different discipline of martial arts, because, ask them, what would happen if you had to go to the ground? Like, how would you fight then? How would a guy that knows Taekwondo fight on the ground? Would they know? So you have to be really, really good to be able to deliver that punch perfectly or that kick perfectly to disable your opponent. But, what's the percentage? If you're really, really good, like your dad, the percentage is probably pretty high. But, for somebody that doesn't know anything, I can't punch somebody in the face. I wouldn't be able to do that. Most likely, if somebody gets in a fight with me, it's going to the ground.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how when I look at it, I want to. First of all, I don't want to get hit or kicked in the face. We got to protect all this.
The moneymaker,
right?
So got to protect all this.
And so, it's just. I guess it's less stress on my body. I'm let's face it. I'm 50 years old. I can't be, getting kicked and hit
less stress. All we've been talking about for the last hour is all the stress on our bodies. But
so that's what I think about. I think about jiu-jitsu and the impact it has in your outside of the gym.
Yeah. With the kids, the reason that I wanted to get the kids, I saw this video. I don't know if you've seen it, but with Henner Gracie, he's got like the bully-proof whatever that they do, and I've seen their videos. It looks great, but one of the things, I saw this video with this kid that was getting picked on, and he was like in a locker room, and like one kid, they just beat the crap out of him in this locker room, and they were interviewing the parents. And the parents said that they felt like they had failed their son.
Right.
Because their job is to prepare their kid for what they might face in the world. And up until that point, they hadn't prepared him for that. And just because he's a nice kid doesn't mean that everybody else is nice. And when we look at our kids, like you see them and they're so sweet, but the world's not like that.
That's right.
Right. And that's why we started looking into putting them into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and I hope that by us forcing them to go, that hopefully one day, they're going to say, yeah, I really, really enjoy this. And they're going to motivate themselves to go without us being the external motivator.
I thought you were going to say, hopefully one day they will kick someone's ass when they need to.
No, that is not the goal. Hopefully one day they beat the crap out of somebody.
It's going to beat the crap out of that guy.
Yeah. No, yeah.
In a tournament, yes.
Yeah, like we told the kids, or like we've talked about, I just want to know that, you know what? People that do jiu-jitsu, for the most part, you don't have to worry about them. So I want them to be able to handle themselves against people that don't know jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because chances are, if they run into somebody that does know jiu-jitsu, they're not going to want to fight them anyway.
Right.
Because that's not what we do.
Yeah.
We beat the shit out of our people we love.
Right. Exactly. Do that. Do that in the gym. Choke your partner out. That's what you want to do.
That's funny.
Yeah. The one thing in Krav Maga that the instructor that I had, he goes, okay, so we're going to teach the basics of Krav Maga. If you get into a fight, the first move is to run away. That's your first move. Run.
Start running.
Don't get yourself out of the situation. That's what you need to learn. Don't ever get yourself. But if you happen to be in a situation where you do have to defend yourself, then this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So what I teach my kids is, hey, listen, don't get into the fight in the first place. But if there are times, now you have the tools to be able to defend yourself. But the first rule is just to get out of there.
Avoid.
I don't want them in this situation in the first place. Just get out of it. Don't be the aggressor. Remove yourself.
Yeah.
Diffuse the situation. Get out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's some good advice.
Yep.
So this was very fun and very knowledgeable.
And Eric is our first jiu-jitsu guest.
Yeah, Sonja's like, a bunch of jiu-jitsu. Here we go. Talk about jiu-jitsu even more.
It was jiu-jitsu based,
Cool,
but it wasn't all jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I had to throw my little stuff in there.
Yeah. We talk about jiu-jitsu. We can keep going on and on and on and on. So
I'm like,
Sonny's like, that's enough.
Cut.
Yeah. No. We could do this all day. And we'll definitely get some more people, and we'd love to have you back.
Awesome. Thank you.
We'll get some other teammates from Jiu-Jitsu in
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
But if anybody wants to get a hold of you, I don't know if you want to give out any of your social media stuff, or if you want any more people following, or your business, your website.
I guess just you can probably follow our school.
Okay.
Carlos Farias Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know what he's on Facebook.
Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah.
On the corner of Higley and Brown.
Yep.
In Mesa. So if you
Come
guys
roll with us.
Yeah, if you guys are
Try it
looking
out.
for a place to go do jiu-jitsu, I mean the atmosphere there is incredible.
Yeah.
And the team is awesome. Everybody's helping each other, and it's just a great place to train.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, very good.
And what's up? You got anything before we get out of here?
No, I am actually going to be quiet this time. No.
All right. So,
Surprise.
No,
Yeah. And Eric is one of our longest listeners. He's been listening since the beginning. So
Oh.
Yeah, I remember you were talking about it at first. I
we
said,
really appreciate
awesome.
it. Yeah.
Keep it going.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to check out you know what? I was listening to this video
Oh,
on
the
what's up?
Thanksgiving.
Oh, Thanksgiving. Yeah, we
Yes.
decided we're going to do a couple things for Thanksgiving.
So I can talk about that
Yeah, go for
just
it.
really
Yeah.
quick. So we found actually a girls group home. And so I'm really excited about that. We will be donating a Thanksgiving dinner to them. And this is a girls group home that I started actually working with. So thank you all for your support and
So
all that
tomorrow,
you've done. And
Monday,
so
I won't be at
Monday.
Jiu-Jitsu. We'll be out Thanksgiving shopping.
Shopping? Okay.
yeah, we
And,
got to buy the turkey and all the sides for
Drop
Got
off
fries?
all the stuff. Yeah.
yeah. He's going to be shopping while I'm at the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be cool, and we'll let you
Yes.
guys know how that goes.
Yeah.
If you want to check out, I was gonna say I was watching this video on YouTube. Like every time you promote the podcast, like you're promoting it to people that are already listening. So it's kind of weird. Anyway, just a thought. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. It's like, hey, you got to get out there and find new people. You're promoting to people that are already listening to your stuff. So, but anyway, oppositesattractpod.com. You guys already know that. Make sure you check it out. Thank you guys for being with us.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Eric.
Yes,
My pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.